Hello, everyone. I thought I'd actually start off by saying thank you to whoever's responsible for the escalators. They worked very well. And thank you to the AV team. Everything works very well. So with that out of the way, all right, so the talk that we just had was very interesting because there were two key takeaways from there that tee me up very nicely. First is we heard that 98% of AI initiatives fail. I'm going to talk about the 2% that works. The second is we heard about this imbalance or this alleged imbalance between people who are in compliance and front office. And what I want to talk about for the next 20 minutes is how we can use AI, reg reporting to actually deliver value to the front office. Because I think that's something that's been missing for a while, at least in the narrative that we provide from the compliance perspective. So on the screen, you'll see a bunch of questions. Those are not questions I'm asking anyone in this room to answer. Those are questions you typically might get. If you're sitting in advisory or second line or anywhere in compliance, sometimes the front office will ring you up or they'll ring someone up and ask some of these questions. In my own organization, people like to ask questions, which is, can we do business in this part of the world? Can we, what is the expense policy? So on and so forth. Anything that stops productive people from being productive is something we should look to use automation or AI to talk about. So the use case I'm going to talk about today is how you can actually provide value to the front office and make them more productive, but have the right reporting and controls in place so that they're not using unchecked AI. There's a narrative that's been floated around that AI no longer needs training, it's learned everything else. For those of you with kids, I'd like to hear you tell the same narrative to those kids, which is, hey, you don't need training, you're as smart as you are. So let's avoid those dangerous narratives. And let's avoid any kind of global delays on getting answers as well. So what does that look like? When you're asked a question, when you're typically asked a question, someone has to go look through SharePoint or some documents to get answers. We're trying to shield our clients from making those kinds of mistakes. So what we're trying to do is to say, we're going to give you the right tooling and the right interface to go and source answers. So you can go in and then you can actually say, all right, well, if I'm asking a question, every minute that I'm spending to get those answers, every minute that's taking for compliance to get me an answer is a minute I'm losing from a revenue generating opportunity. So what does the outcome look like? All right, so that question that I showed on the first slide. It's good to put in a question that's actually interfacing with all of the documentation that you have in a tamper-proof environment. So what we've provided, even on the database level, is 17A4 compliant. And that means that unlike giving all your data to Sam Altman and hoping that he's not going to use it to train, we're actually keeping it secure for you to be used by you to generate responses for your team. So they can put in a question, and like it says on the screen, it's going to provide you a summary response, but the most important control is what it says at the top, pending review. You don't want to be in a position where you're getting an answer from some kind of generative engine and you don't actually know if that answer is verified, if it's explainable, or if it can be trusted by your organization. So the power actually goes back to the compliance team or compliance advisory who can go in and they can review the answer that's provided and they can either override it or they can approve it. So it's knowledge management with a compliance lens applied on top of it. Going into it, you actually get the answer that pulls from you. So you can see citations. The citations is your documentation, or you can use an agent. So an agent is a glorified AI intern who will go out into the world and pull back the information for you and represent it in a way the compliance team can sign off on. So not only will it refer to your own documentation, it'll also refer to regulations and policies to make sure the answer you're providing is compliant. Like you can see on the screen over there, it's on the right, it's actually on my left, your right, it's actually providing the sources. So where is this information coming from? And it's either, again, from internal to you or external to you. So knowledge management, again, with that compliance lens. Here's a second example. So the same question, but you're seeing a case over here, which is it's not on our restricted list or it is on our restricted list. So again, when you're putting in a question, it's actually referring to the database that's maintained by the compliance organization or fed through to them. So it's not just relying on something generated by OpenAI or animals like Llama. It's actually being generated by a trusted database that you have. And then here's the part that I actually think is the most valuable. a problem that I face today when I use open source models that, as good as they are, I don't actually get telemetry. I don't get reporting. What are the questions people are putting into the ChatGPT? What are questions people are putting into Mistral or Claude or anything else? You don't actually get the telemetry. You don't actually get the ability to go and say, you're asking a question about sanctions, but I don't have the ability to actually attest to it or sign off on it as controls. This is giving you that power. It's also allowing for you to understand what is the organization actually asking? What do they care about? And this is giving you a lens that, again, is 17A4 compliant and can be extracted into any CM solution you have or into an archive. So it's a full closed loop where a question is asked, answer is received, answer can be validated by compliance, reporting is generated, and all of it can go into a tamper-proof archive. So what do we have over here? Well, when you're saving time, you're also reducing the risk. So we don't want to have a trade-off where in the pursuit of saving time and generating these responses for the organization, you're actually increasing risk, which happens when you use untrusted and inexplainable open source AI tools. This is something that's sitting within your organization, within your perimeter. So what you're able to do, again, is actually over time to keep giving it updated regulations, updated policies, or have it refer to it for you. And it comes with built-in case management, which is the most important. Either it can link into a case management you have, or it can tie into what you have. And why are we doing this? Because we don't want the AI to just be untrained and learn. It has to have that supervisory element that allows for the compliance team to verify the responses that it's providing. Let's actually go into what we have over here, which is the compliance workspace. I think this is actually very interesting because, as you can see, there's open cases. So it's an integrated case management solution that allows for us to actually go in and say, for each question that's asked, do we have the reporting that we can evidence to a regulatory body or to internal audit? You don't want to be in a position where people have made business decisions based on something that's been generated or agentic, and you cannot actually verify that to an internal auditor or to any three-letter agency that knocks on your door. So we're actually providing the tooling where this can be extracted, this can be reviewed, and you can actually see the status. So it's all within this one interface that you have. Cases are here as well, which is, as you can see, you're currently prohibited from doing something. And again, that's reported saying we've had 5 questions about Chipotle, and we've actually managed, and it's not to do just with orders, food orders, it's actually to do with the position on it. And we've verified that based on our internal policies, and it's jurisdictional specific. Based on our internal policies in a given jurisdiction, this is the action we can or cannot take. What this is also able to do, and I think this is where the controls perspective really matters, is it's actually sending a notification to the compliance team and generating a report for them saying, here's what people are asking about, and here's how it violates our internal policies, or here actually is where your policy, your internal policy is falling foul of a global regulation or a jurisdictional regulation. So it's the policy management and mismanagement that you can actually work towards. Again, this is something that you don't get when you're using something open source because those controls just are not available. The reporting is not available. Full case management workflow, we'll save that for the demo session. I think what I like over here to highlight is this, which is the compliance team, when you're trying to generate a response or a report, should also have the ability to work with their business partners. Going back to what Jim and the moderator, Allison, said from the previous session, right? You want to be in a position where you're able to have a good dialogue with the business, but also where the fintechs are providing you the right level of control. This is what this is providing, which is it's not just an unchecked open source answer, it's an answer that you actually can override, can check, can use it to train the source material, and also generate the requisite reporting on top of. And then the employee portal, in the same vein as you want reporting on your end for what people are asking, what answers we're providing, employees need a portal where they can also run reports on the questions they're asking as business owners. And it's a closed loop system where nothing is being exfiltrated beyond the purview of what compliance or control can view. You're integrating various watch lists and restricted lists, again, to build an entire closed loop system. So that's ultimately what we're looking to provide and what we've actually rolled out. And that's why I'm sharing it here, is because when we're thinking about AI, the important thing is, one, is it explainable? Is it defendable? And then most importantly, can you report on it? So whilst everyone is trying to think about how we can use AI to enhance reporting, what we're actually saying is, can you actually report, first of all, on the AI you're trying to use before you try and use it to advance anything else? And that's the lens that we're trying to apply on top of this. The reporting piece, to actually visualize it for a second. So this is what you're getting, which is are people using it to ask questions related to investment research. So even when we're putting out research or we're asking for the equity team, instead of, again, chucking it into a third-party system where it gets lost, you're running reporting on what is the veracity of the report, of the research we're providing, what are the sources, has it been validated and vetted by controls, and then you're able to evidence that to internal or external auditors and regulators. So the entire lens you're applying over here is you're using the AI automation to also generate reports for you that can then be surfaced, as opposed to having to pull it into a Tableau or a Power BI or what have you. I'll probably close with one last thing, and then we can either open up to questions or get lunch earlier. One of the things is it's not just being able to run the reports, it's also where you can export it to. So the point is, again, you can either export it to a third-party CM solution, your Splunks, your Exabeams. So again, it's in a full loop. You can even push it into legacy archives. So if you have any of the legacy archives, you can push it into them, the ones that have been around for decades. I'm sure they'd be happy to take in yet another data point. So this is a way to provide it to them. Or you can store it locally on the system as a 17A4 compliant record retention. So to signpost and then either open up to questions or call time, one, you're using AI, not generative and not randomly sourced from a third party. You're using AI that is purpose-built for your organization to be able to refer to all of the policies and procedures within your organization, any kind of knowledge, to generate responses to make the front office more efficient. The program comes from compliance because it comes with controls. It comes with controls where compliance advisory can review the output, can override the output from the AI, can save it, but also, most importantly, can hold it for posterity and for reporting. What are people querying? Why are they querying it? Are they deviations from our policies and procedures that we need to be mindful of? And all of that can be extracted in either the CSVs for reporting or to third-party systems, and they're stored in tamper-proof archives. So that's what I wanted to share in the time I had. So there's, I see on the clock, there's about 6 minutes and a bit remaining. If anyone wants to have a Q&A or if anyone wants to get to lunch, happy to do that as well. But thank you for your time.
Yeah, real quick. This seems to be focused on internal policies and procedures. Any reason why it wouldn't work for regulatory rules and guidelines and guidances?
Great question. So it does. It works for regulatory rules and guidelines. So that's where you use an agent to actually tap into various regulatory websites or sources, because that's when you can do policy conflict resolution. So our internal policy says this, but the regulatory policy says Y. Here's the deviation, and it recommends what the policy update should be as well. I guess I lied. It's not lunch. There's a panel after this.
False promise there. Sorry.
There you go.
We've got something even better. Any other questions from the audience?
Oh.
How do we contact you after?
How do you contact us after? That's great. Do I owe you any money for that question? Okay, so we have a booth just outside, so where all the vendors are. But what I would say is, and I believe this, by the way, with all fintechs, is don't just contact us to listen to the sales pitch. If you have a document or a policy, literally, we will spin it up for you. So proof is in the eating. There you go. I'll hand it back to you, Aaron. Thank you, everyone.